Hey, what's up, Street Talks? The Eric from the Eric Street Photography blog. So I want to toss some more turbo thoughts at you. So this is the one thing I've been thinking about is, what is holding us back? And I think, there's obviously a lot of things holding us back from our own personal creative thriving and stuff like that. So let me just kind of go down the list of what's personally worked for me in my life and whatever. So the first and foremost, I am genuinely convinced that 9-to-5 employment, having a boss or having somebody to report to, is the ultimate fetter on our freedom, which means if you need to go to sleep and wake up at a certain time in order to, answer to some sort of boss or higher power, then you don't have 100% freedom. I think, to me, the reason why I wanted to become self-employed so badly was I desired to have freedom over my time, my life, my schedule. And even actually when I kind of think about when I was in high school, I wanted to work on my car, I wanted money for clothes and shoes and stuff like that. But to me, money wasn't really that an important goal for me. Probably was more important for me ever since I was a kid was freedom. Freedom to have schedule over my time, freedom not to have to go into a 9-to-5 job and so forth. And so I strove with all my might to become self-employed. I was lucky in the sense that my personal story was after I graduated college, had a typical 9-to-5 job, and one of the benefits of having a 9-to-5 job was, I was able to, think about how I could build up my blog on the side and stuff. So it actually ended up being super duper useful where, having a 9-to-5 job was the first step that I needed in order to get to where I am today. And so, studied sociology at UCLA as an undergrad and, and at the time, I first thought about becoming a sociology professor, and the thought of doing grad school for another 10 years of my life didn't seem so appealing. So actually what ended up happening instead was, and then got to Cindy because this is where, she helped enable me. What happened was, sometimes this apartment gets spooky. Ooh. Found out the culprit. This door wasn't fully closed. Oh wow. Really windy today in this apartment. Alright, anyways. So what actually ended up happening was thought about becoming a sociology professor. And Cindy actually forwarded me this email. I was like, oh, do you want to make social media your job or your career? And I was like, this sounds awesome. And so I did this internship for this a company called Demand Media, and ended up interning there, got a job there after I graduated, was an online community manager. Essentially I did social media, and I essentially built up my blog on the side. So for me, the first step that I needed to become self-employed was having a stable 9-to-5 job and then working on building up my thing on the side. Now, the second fortunate thing to me, which helped me become self-employed, was essentially being made, quote unquote, made redundant, or not necessarily getting fired, is getting laid off, I guess, right? There's a difference. So I got laid off because the company IPO'd and went public. It made a bunch of money, and then it crashed, and then half the company got laid off, and I lost my job, and my boss lost his job, and so forth. And it actually ended up being one of the best things in my life because I really wanted to try to do my photography, street photography, workshops, blogging thing full time, but actually I think I needed that shove, right? Because I was trying to save up money, couldn't really save up money, and I'm like, oh, when is gonna be the right time for me to leave my job, blah blah. And truth be told, had I never been made redundant, I think I would have still been at that job and I never would have become self-employed. So sometimes fate kind of throws you a lucky hand, and some of the things that we might consider bad things might actually end up being the best things in my life. So for example, me getting made redundant was probably one of the best things that actually happened to me in my personal life, and without being made redundant, I wouldn't have become self-employed. And I found that also, like, for me personally, to become self-employed, education seemed like something that was quite a good field for me to get into, because I was always passionate about teaching. And also my thought about, and this is where I think still teaching workshops or seminars and stuff like that is still pretty good, is that like people don't like to pay for things on the internet, but people are willing to spend good money on real life experiences. So that's what's worked well for me. And I feel like on the road to self-employment, I mean, the very basic one and the easy one is to live as maximally frugally as you can, and essentially like live like a poor person and kind of like delight in it. And once you are at that point where you have more, you're making more income than you're spending, and you could adjust this formula two ways. First and foremost, you could reduce your expenses or you can increase the income. I think it's very difficult to increase your income because you don't really have control over that. It's very easy for you to lower your expenses. So for example, some things that I've done, I don't have a car. I haven't bought like I've never bought an iPhone. Well, I bought the new iPhone Pro and I returned it and stuff like that. And so essentially, like, I think frugality is freedom, or frugality is sexy, and it's one of the ways you could buy your freedom. And also, simple things. I'm grateful that I got Cindy, because Cindy also earns income now, and also we share our expenses and stuff like that. So just kind of realize that when it comes to life in general, I think life with a partner is actually far superior than living life solo. But anyways, this is kind of a different topic. So first and foremost, it seems like one of the best roads to happiness and freedom in life is self-employment, entrepreneurship. It's so funny because this notion of entrepreneurship didn't even exist when I was in high school or college. We just called it becoming self-employed. And I think maybe that might even be a better thing, because you become a sole proprietor, you work for yourself, by yourself, and you don't think that you need to raise $1 trillion in order to make some sort of meaningful thing in your life. And this is actually the funny thing too, is like a lot of people who are still millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires, whatever, they still don't actually have freedom over their lives, because they still need to report to a board. Like even like the CEO of Google or whatever, like they don't have personal freedom over their lives because they still need to report to a board, the stock owners or whatever. And so I think self-employment is definitely the way to go. So the question is, the more philosophical question is this: once you have self-freedom, once you have autonomy over your life, then what? Now this is where things get very, very personal, and I don't have the answers for you, but essentially, like, I think the most pragmatic answer has been to just create, to become a creator. And some people say like, oh, I want to travel and blah blah, and that's cool too, but I think the goal is, we want to travel in order to create. We want to travel in order to open up our mind and inspire us. Because, we get all this inspiration. What is the point of having inspiration if, like, are you just going to be a sponge and just absorb experiences and inspiration? No. I think what we want to do is we want to absorb this inspiration, this motivation through traveling or living nomadically, whatever. And the ultimate life goal is for us to create, for us to be producers, for us to mold reality to our liking, and to share this joy with others. So basic life story, short: become self-employed, strive to maximize your day or your life being a creator, a producer, and just keep creating. The goal isn't to make one perfect thing and be happy and lie in your laurels, but it's always to be on to the next one. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace out.